Welcome to the Scout Reach podcast. I'm Shelly Hamill, editor and owner of the Scout Guide Aspen, and this is a conversation about the people shaping our valley. Each episode, I sit down with the founders, creatives, and business owners who are building something meaningful here in Aspen. The ideas behind the storefronts, the stories behind the brands, and the decisions that don't make it onto the page. Scout Reach isn't about promotion. It's about perspective, community, and what it really takes to build a business in a place as dynamic as this one. If you care about craft, connections, and the businesses that define where we live, you're in the right place. Let's begin. Hey, Chris, so welcome to the Scout Reach podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I'm excited to have you because not only were you in the first Scout Guide that I produced, which was volume 12, but you're also going to be in volume 13. So that's really exciting for me. And let's talk a little bit about how we met and how we know each other. And I mean, you bounce around all the time. You have a home here in Aspen, but you travel a lot. And so let's just visit a little bit about how we met and how we got to know each other. And then we'll talk a little bit about your boot company.
Sure, sounds great. Yeah, November of 2019, shortly before the pandemic.
You have a great memory.
And I was in Aspen right before Thanksgiving. And I was having dinner at Matsuhisa, and we happened to sit next to each other and struck up a conversation.
All the best conversations start at a bar, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so, and tell us a little bit about, you are involved in a lot of different projects. You have a lot of different things going on, so I want to hear about what you're doing currently. You were just in Round Top. You have an antique business, so tell us a little bit about that.
A lot of things that I do are design driven, and so design or art. I had a contemporary art gallery and residency program in San Antonio in an old uniform factory. I love working with emerging talent, but I also love finding unusual things, whether that's something that someone is making or the person themselves, and that's very interesting, and really kind of exploring where that can take me. So in Round Top, I have an antique business. I've been collecting antiques for years, and at some point I met a friend who convinced me I should start selling antiques. But what I sell is typically a little bit different, unusual pieces of taxidermy that I enhance or change, or I found the huge letter O that came off an oil refinery outside of Houston, and I turned it into a mirror by putting in, it's an 8-foot tall letter O, big circle in the middle, and I put purple mirrored plex in it. So it's kind of this funhouse thing, but it's also this old and new, and so there's a whimsical nature to a lot of things that I do. But I love working with artists. I was in the bar and restaurant business for a long time. I loved creating the spaces, always incorporated artists working with me to design the spaces, whether we were making light fixtures together or whatever we could, kind of come up with. I had one artist who did amazing ceramic works, but I had a tequila bar called The Worm on the Riverwalk in San Antonio. He designed ceiling fans where the blades were cut out the shape of buzzards, and we just had them on the slowest speed spot possible, so it was like buzzards circling overhead.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, so there's always some kind of fun thing like that. So creating things, design-driven things are really what motivate me. I think, I have a project on the Riverwalk in San Antonio that's in the early stages of development. It's been kicking around in my head for about 15 years.
You've been talking about it for a while.
It's finally happening. It's near a development called Pearl. They took an old Pearl brewery and developed it into a culinary destination. Hotel Emma is one of is always ranked 1 or 2 hotel in the nation. And so I have a property, 200 feet of river frontage, and I'm building a 12-story condo building there. The thing that I'm most excited about is working with a young architect that I found out of Austin who has San Antonio roots. His father was a wildlife artist, and he's brilliantly creative. And we just hit it off, and we have the same aesthetic, and it's the idea of working with someone young who wants to make their career and build their career, and the fact that I can help him, but I'm also getting this incredible architect who worked with numerous incredible architects who have designed things in Aspen, different places. His name is Charles Beckendorf, and I think he's early 30s, and we're having a lot of fun designing a vertical building that is a courtyard design, taking the idea of a courtyard house with breezeways and sunwells, light passages through the building. It's only 50 feet wide, the building, so it's pretty narrow. So we can do that. So we'll have passageways that allow light and air to flow through. So it'll be a very different type of architecture for San Antonio. So I'm really excited about that.
That sounds like a great project. What's your time frame on that, do you think?
I think we'll break ground early next year.
That's exciting.
Right now I'm in the fundraising and early design stuff. We have schematics on the building, some renderings that are coming into play now. We have to get a couple of variances on it with the city, just because we won't go slightly higher. I can build a 10-story building, but I think it needs to be 12. And so there's some things like that we're just working through the details. So realistically, the logistics and the infrastructure will take a little bit longer. So I think early next year we'll break ground. Of course,
Really
depends
exciting.
on everything else that's happening in the world at the time. That certainly affects it.
That is true. That is true.
So
tell me, you have your Cortado boots on today.
Yes.
The sample.
I wear them almost every day.
All the time.
Yeah.
And tell me, I love the stories about how people stop you on the street and they want to know where you got your boots.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because they're distinctive enough because they have a red sole. It's an outsole and it's a lug sole, so it's a little bit thicker. And I wanted something that was a little more athletic. Being from Texas, I grew up wearing boots, but I didn't ever love wearing boots because they would kind of chafe my leg and rub my calf muscle. So they weren't always comfortable, but everyone wore boots, so I wore boots. But I found that I would sometimes take an older pair of boots and cut them shorter. I like a shorter boot. If you're of European descent, typically your calf muscle is larger. And so a tall boot is not as comfortable. And I wanted something that I could kick on and off. I grew up, my parents had a ranch that we still have in the hill country in Texas, and it's on a river. And I would ride a four-wheeler in a swimsuit and boots. And I'd kick off the boots and jump in the river and swim for a while, throw boots back on, and then just keep going on the four-wheeler. So I loved that idea. And so the idea of a short boot, I had kind of played with it for a while, but I found an old pair of boots that I wore in high school that had been put in a box in a warehouse. And over the years, something had eaten into the box, and some rats chewed on the leather of the boots. But I put them on, and they still fit, but the top was kind of eaten. I was like, oh, I'll just cut that off. And then when I cut them off and wore them, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool, and I can still wear these, and I love that they're so much shorter. And then I took them to a boot maker and had him put on a Vibram sole, a lug sole, so they became a little more athletic, a little more all-weather. I found out very fast that it was the perfect boot for Aspen, for walking in the snow. And because they're shorter, they're cooler to wear, more comfortable. And there's kind of a history of why boots are taller. In the 40s, boots were shorter for that reason, especially in West Texas. You did, because of the heat, you didn't want something that was super tall. But in the 50s, rodeo was the entertainment, and before TV came along, so families would take their kids to the rodeo, and so the cowboys said, I want people to know that's me. So they would tell bootmakers, make them taller, put flames on them, put flowers on them, something that was distinctive, and it became more of a style instead of, it was functional, but it was also this kind of flashy thing, and it changed the style of boots, and boots got taller as a result. And the bootmakers loved it because they could charge more for a taller boot, more real estate, more leather, higher price. So they're like, oh, let's start making these taller boots that are coming in style, and let's not sell these shorter boots that we've been selling. We'll put those in the back of the store. And they changed the branding on those boots, and they started calling them Pee-wees. So you could buy a regular boot, or you could buy a Pee-wee. And a lot of guys didn't want to go in a store and say, hey, I want to see your peewees.
I can't imagine.
So, but functionally, I believe that they're way more comfortable. It's, I often refer to them as West Texas high tops because they're easy, you just step right in and out. It's not where you have to sit down and, really work to get them on. And sometimes I tuck my pants in, sometimes I tuck them out, and you can do that. And it's, sometimes I do one of each. It's just depending on how I'm feeling that day or what I'm wearing.
That's so interesting. We've talked about this before, but I always thought, growing up in Texas also, that the high boots, again, had to do with snakes. It had to do with not getting bitten.
Just a myth, because a snake will bite right through that boot.
Wow.
So if you can buy snake-proof boots that are lined with steel mesh, and that'll keep a snake from biting through it. But certainly,
really hot.
Yeah, really hot, really uncomfortable, really stiff, but protective. But yeah, that's the taller boot does not protect you. Those fangs are long and sharp.
Yeah, I don't really want to come face to face.
Yeah.
Any way to find out, but. So tell me a little bit about, we've talked about this also before, but I want to share with everyone who's listening a little bit about the process of creating the boot now that you have the sample that you've created for yourself.
Right.
And how you came to decide to go ahead and manufacture these and make them
Sure.
available to the larger public.
Yeah, I just, I initially made them for myself because this is the boot that I wanted. And I tend to do that. If there's a product that I think is missing, I'll figure out a way to make that. And if I can turn it into a business, great. These, I took a pair of boots and took it to a local boot maker in San Antonio, had them cut it. There's a single hole in the top, so it has kind of a distinct look to it. And then the lug sole, I wanted a Vibram type sole because they're well known for making a great sole.
Tell us about Vibram.
So Vibram is a company that their entire business is making soles for other people's shoes.
Okay.
So, but it's a brand name, but it has a lot of cachet. Okay. People know the brand and they're like, oh, it has a Vibram sole. That's great. That's associated with quality. But Vibram doesn't make a very thick lug sole. So the lug sole is the one that has like a tire tread on the bottom. So I wanted a thicker sole, so I had to use a Vibram sole and then 2 midsoles to get the thickness that I want. So they're probably 1/8 of an inch each, plus the Vibram sole. So it gives it a distinct look, and because of the color, it's very distinctive, and that's why people notice it. It really stands out when you're walking down the street. And so I've had people that are very obviously looking at my shoes, and they look down at the shoes, and then they look at me, and they look at the shoes. And I started carrying cards with me and just talking to those people and saying, hey, here's my card. We're going to have these boots online. You can order them. And people were super excited. I've had a couple of people that have stores that have approached me and said, whenever you're ready, I want to launch your boots. And someone in Northern California, someone in Round Top, Texas, someone in Austin. So I'm really excited with the feedback that I've been getting. And I still have people, constantly saying, when can I get those boots? And they are in production. We've had some challenges. The guy that did the first prototype in San Antonio was not equipped to do a line of boots, and I first started exploring in Spain. I wanted to produce them in Mexico, so I first started exploring in Mexico, but I couldn't find anyone in León to make the boots. León is the boot capital of the world. In the 1800s, a lot of Italian shoemakers left Italy and moved to León because of the resources that were there.
Really?
So they took the Italian style craftsmanship and started building these things. So they integrated into the community there. So a lot of the boot making and shoemaking roots in Mexico are actually Italian origin.
Wow, I had no idea.
So I went down there. Most of the factories are looking for someone who's going to come in and start a huge company, place huge orders, and I'm not that guy yet. So I've been kind of growing it organically, but I couldn't find anyone in León that would take a smaller project like this.
I see.
And so I ended up reaching out to someone that was a consultant who helped me, who had a boot company, and they recommended that I go to a small factory in Spain.
Okay.
So we did some prototypes there.
What part of Spain?
I don't remember it's a small town, and almost everyone in the town works at this factory. It's family owned. They do great work. It was pre-tariff and all that, but there was a tariff in Spain and it was 15%. And the cost was reasonable. It was probably double what the cost was in Mexico. And the quality was good, but it wasn't perfect. And what I had sent them as the prototype were the boots that I had been wearing for a long time. So they were beautifully worn and scuffed up, when they get that great patina. They kept trying to replicate the patina. And I didn't care about that because they will naturally get that. But they kept trying to do that and the finishes weren't quite right. And then I was in LA it was just a pop-up show of some clothing and different makers, and I ran into someone who had these beautiful shoes that were just a natural leather, raw leather, and I said, these are incredible, this is fantastic, where are you making these? And he said, oh, I'm making them in Lyon, but I'm getting out of the shoe business and focusing on a different business. I was like, will you tell me who your manufacturer is? And they said, yeah. And so I found this small factory in Lyon, contacted them. They've been fantastic.
That's great news.
And so they've been making the prototypes, and we're working on the sole color is, I think, one of the things that makes it very distinctive. This is a simple roper style boot. It's 7.5 inches tall, which I played with a bunch of different heights. A normal, like a Red Wing Pecos boot, is 10 inches tall. This is 7.5 inches, which I think is just the perfect fit. And then the soles, we're starting with 6 different colored soles. So the red, the one that the prototype is made with the Vibram hybrid with the midsoles. This will be one solid piece of rubber, and it's we're going to do red, black, hunter green, blue, olive, and clear.
Clear. I'm excited about the clear.
The clear is so cool.
I bet.
It's really an interesting look, and it just adds this whole other dimension to it that I'm really excited about. And then the uppers are, I really love playing with materials. We'll of course do a typical brown boot and black boot, but I'm going to do a hair on hide version, and we'll do a couple of different versions. There's an all black one. There's going to be a spotted one that are really exciting. And then I'll do wax suede. And then the one that I'm most excited about is what I call the DIY. So it takes the natural veg tan leather, so your raw leather, which is a little bit pink at first, but there's no sealer on it. It will actually sunburn. It will darken in the sun. You can put oil on it. You can put different things. But I envision people will get them, they'll splash around in the snow, in the mud, spill their coffee on it. And after months or years or however long it takes, when it gets to just that right patina, it comes with some sealer. And you put the sealer on it, and then you've sealed it, and that's your personal patina style on your...
I would never be able to make the decision.
I know. How do you know when to
like,
stop?
Oh, this is it.
I know. Yeah.
Tell me also about the name itself, which goes back to your decision about making them a shorter boot.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about Cortado.
I had originally was going to use a different name that was more of a West Texas name that was related to the contemporary art world, which I'm very involved in. And through it, there were some trademark issues. And one day I finally just decided that it just kind of popped in my head, and I was like, oh, Cortado. It's cut. It means short in Italian and Spanish. And it is what it is. So, my hope is that this creates an interest in this style of boot so that it becomes more than just my brand of boot, but becomes like a Chelsea boot, where it's a term for a shorter boot, because no one wants to buy Pee-wees. So it's a branding issue. It's that, I love the story of the, sea bass, a Chilean sea bass, is a delicious fish, but no one could sell it because they were calling it by its original name, which was the Patagonian toothfish. And someone came in and said, we're going to change this, we're going to rebrand it Chilean sea bass, and it just took off, and now it's incredibly popular. So if we can get away from peewees and get into cortado style, I think it will change the desire for that. And women can buy a shorty boot. This is not as short as a women's shorty boot. It's taller than that. It retains a masculinity that I think is fine. But the boots are unisex. We're doing for both men and women.
Okay, I didn't know that part. Okay.
Yeah, the women's has a little, it's the shaft of the boot is not quite as wide, so it's not tapered, but for me it's important. I didn't want to have something, so a Chelsea boot has elastic. So it tapers in to fit around your ankle, and it has elastic in it. Some boots that are a shorter boot have a zipper on them. I don't want to have that. I want something that just step in, step out. Literally, you step out of bed, you step in your boot and hit the road. So if I add, there are a couple of embellishments that I'm going to add along the way as the line increases. Some straps around them and some different things. And I may do a zipper up the back on the women's boot. There's a really great style of zipper that I love. There's a really large zipper, and it's really more of a design element than a functional thing, because I don't think the boot needs to taper. I like the easy in and out, but as a design element, I may add some zippers and some fun things to them.
All right.
Some pops of color and stuff like that.
So there's definitely a theme of the projects that you're involved in, from taking antiques and repurposing them, like you talked about the letter O, and putting
right.
here in there. You're taking the boots that you have, that you resold for yourself, creating something for yourself that's turned into something that is hopefully going to be really popular and enjoyed by many. There seems to be that sort of theme, and I sent you a picture a few weeks ago. It was an art installation. I think it was old telephones that they had used in the installation and making. I think they were sheep or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
But that it instantly made me think of you, because
right.
That's the kind of. It seems to me that's the theme that is consistent among all the projects that you're involved in, like the property in San Antonio.
Right. Yeah.
It seems to have changed its purpose in your hands.
Repurposing is a huge thing for me. I don't see it as recycling necessarily, but taking something and that's often mundane and making it something better. Using very traditional, simple materials and elevating them to something else. So if I can find some found object, something that is obsolete, like an old rotary dial telephone or something, and figure out something to do with that, like so that those sculptures were exactly right. And I think all of that comes from an art background. When I was 5, my parents hired a designer. He was an artist who had a very successful career in interior design, but he was good friends with an artist named Louise Nevelson. And she was a Russian immigrant who lived in New York, and she would find pieces of furniture on the street, chairs and tables, and she would break off their legs, and they were often broken up. Someone had thrown them away and they were in the trash pile, and she would just find things on the street, and she'd take them back to her tiny apartment and use hammer and nails and hammer them together and then paint them black and make these incredible constructions. So that's kind of the origin of kind of everything I do, is finding something, making something out of something that someone else has kind of disregarded, and really being inspired by that. So that definitely is a theme. I also make sculptures, and of course they're found object sculptures out of bones and limbs and things that I find at the ranch, or things that I find in Round Top, or in flea markets. I made some sculptures a few years ago that were different animals. An elephant, the trunk of the elephant is the leg of a pot-bellied stove, so it has this gentle curve that resembles the trunk, and the rest are pieces of scraps of wood and bones and things. I have a monkey that's made of old foundry molds, but the face is an old sprinkler, the kind that you would put on the end of the hose that has 2 little holes in it, and that's the face of the monkey. And I was in a flea market and I saw it in a box looking at me as the face of a monkey, and it was $2. I was like, okay, I'm building a whole sculpture around this. So I get inspired by these things and see the potential.
I think that's maybe where you and I sort of hit it off in the beginning, was because I do the same with my mosaics. I use the old, china plates that people don't use anymore in my mosaic sculptures. So a similar kind of idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I was going to say also that I think what I like about the idea with the boots as well is that, with a piece of art, very often it is an individual, a single item, a one-off, if you will, whereas the boots are a piece of art that you're creating that a lot of people can enjoy.
Right. And I think that's part of why I love the different styles. In my mind, the whole line is very clear of what they're going to look like with the different soles and different uppers and those combinations. But that's why I think the DIY boot is the most exciting to me, because it becomes individual and everyone can kind of make it what they want. I mean, I envision even doing tattoos on some of them, which would be just fantastic.
Oh, yeah, I'm even thinking like branding, like like how we have that on hats,
right?
Hats and
Yep.
things like that. That could be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
You could do your initials, and that would be great.
Customizing is a big thing now.
Yeah. So, what do you think the timing is? When do you think that we'll be able to order our first pair?
So the biggest issue with timing, the factory in Lyon is great, and the production time is not crazy. So within the next couple of months, we should have the first line out. The biggest challenge has been the trademark. Honestly, that's the thing that slowed things down, because I was working with a different brand previously and then switched, and that trademark battle has been going on for several years. And I didn't want to launch the brand and then have to change it. So when I came up with Cortado, there's nothing else in the trademark realm that is using Cortado. There's a coffee brand and there's a computer brand, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So nothing in footwear.
Which is interesting, given what you said, it means cut and short.
Yeah, so but here's a crazy, this is the challenge. I thought, okay, this is an easy trademark thing. But with trademark law, Spanish and English are the same language. So there's a brand of shirts, I think it's a golf company called Cut. And Cortado means cut. So my initial application was rejected because of that. They said cut and Cortado are the same thing. In Spanish and English, it means the same word, therefore you cannot get this trademark. So we filed it a different way, and it looks like it's going through. But again, it's a lot of expense, because you think of the packaging, you have to put it on the shoe, you have to put it on the box, you have to put it on, there's so many things that you have to include that on. So that's been the one thing that, I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way and have all of that resolved first. So that should be resolved pretty quickly.
You've been so patient in this whole process. You really have, and you've had such vision about it. And it's been interesting from a business perspective, but also been fun for me to, as your friend, to be able to watch the process.
Yeah.
And see it all come together.
The vision has been clear from the start, but it hasn't been a linear path, unfortunately. And I think we're almost there. And it's really hard for me when people who are on our mailing list say, hey, when are the boots coming out? I really want my pair, can you do one for me now? Like, can you do me a prototype? That sort of thing, because people really want the boots. And so there's this, I hate to keep telling people we're almost there, but we really are. We're really finally almost there. So
can people pre-order them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's on the website, which is cortadoboot.com, you can sign up there, and we'll respond. If you sign up there, we'll give you information about it, and then we'll also take in your size, and we'll put you down as a pre-order. So anyone that signs up there.
And that's available in the Scout Guide, that information, as well as we'll put it in links underneath the video.
Yep. Yeah. So we have it where you can sign up, and then as soon as we are pre-launch, we'll start taking deposits. and we're going to give it a little bit of a discount for the first orders for the people who've waited so long.
That's great.
And we're also doing a series of hats that have the Cortado branding on them.
Okay.
And we're going to give away a free hat with every order for the first number of orders that we get placed.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, I'm super excited. You know, like I said, the vision is clear. It hasn't been a linear path, but we're almost there.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. And tell me a little bit about how do you do with like all the sizing, and how do you come up with? I have some friends in Bermuda that have shoe wear stores, and you know, they always have sales on like size 6 for women and size 9 for women, because those are the, you know, but there's, when they order them, you know, they order obviously more in the mid-range,
right,
and fewer on the outside. So how
sure,
do you plan for that, or how do you?
There's a bell curve. I have someone else that's involved in the company that's a shoe designer, and he knows a lot of this. So he's helping me navigate things like that. He'll say, you know, you only need X number in size 6. Everyone's going to be 7 to 8.5. You have those, so your bell curve is up here. All of your 7s and 8s are in this area, and then as they get higher, you have fewer of those. We will have a lot of inventory to produce because we're doing the 6 different colors. And there are other soles that we will be doing. We'll be doing a normal sole that's like a stacked leather sole. Okay. So a traditional sole, we'll do those as well. And I have an idea for something that's really kind of cutting edge, that's going to be really exciting, that I'm working on.
We'll have to have it come back after.
Yeah, for sure. It's exciting. The difference is with the rubber soles, you make 2 or 3 sizes, and then the sole, you make the shoe, and then the sole is cut on the outside. So you cut it to fit the boot that's made. So there's excess, there's waste on it, but you cut that off, and then that rubber can get recycled. If you do something that's a very specific sole, then you have to do, that's like a specific form, you have to make a mold in each size. So that's a last. You make the last, and then you make the forms in 6.5, 8.5, you know, every size and every half size up to whatever. So it's much more expensive once you get into that. So we're launching with this, the rubber sole, which will be the easiest to produce more faster. And then we'll introduce within the year this other sole that I'm really excited about that'll be kind of a game changer.
So you mentioned that the soles, the excess on the outside of the sole can be recycled.
Yeah.
But I'm sort of imagining the leather. So is that? I think there's a future art project for you, and the pieces the
right?
excess pieces.
I see all that stuff with potential. So yes, I keep all of those things.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I think this is really exciting, and I'm excited for you, again, having been your friend as you've gone through this process, to see it really come to fruition. And there must be some part of you that's relieved and sort of excited all at the same time.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's been a labor of love, but as I said, I have lots of projects, so there are lots of other things happening simultaneously. But this is one of those things I've been really passionate about it, and the response that I've gotten from it, just like I said, the people that stop me on the street. Someone stopped me in a restaurant in Santa Fe last summer, and he follows up probably every month.
Wow.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
And lots of people that say, as soon as you're ready, I want to help you, launch this. I have this many followers, and I'll wear them on my account and that sort of thing.
That's great. So you have some influencers already.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hopefully.
Well, we look forward to seeing them. I love what you've said in the Scout Guide. You said Aspen is our stomping ground. So
yeah.
I look forward to seeing them on people other than yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been coming to Aspen for 30 years. Been partial property owner since 2003, and I spend as much time here as I can. I love it.
And you're
such a great community.
So
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, and about how you. Is there any part of that plays into the decision-making process at all? I mean, I, as a skier, I'm jealous watching snowboarders walk around in their regular boots. It's so much more difficult in ski boots. But is there anything about that that's informed?
I don't think from a boot standpoint, no.
Okay.
But I do wear these boots and then switch into my snowboarding boots. But I love snowboard style and snowboard culture and that sort of thing. So that absolutely impacts design decisions and some of the materials. I mean, when you're skiing and snowboarding, your outfits are more fun. That's your chance to kind of cut loose. I think you may be a conservative person in your business or whatever you're doing in your day job, but when you're on the slopes, you kind of let go of that a little bit, and you buy the fun outfit and the flashier outfit. And I think these boots are that way a little bit because of the color that's on them, and that splash of color makes it into something that's fun. And it may not go with every outfit. I pretty much wear them with every outfit I have. I wouldn't wear these with a suit, but I would wear one with a black sole with the suit, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah. We'll see. Maybe do a tie that matches the sole color or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's that culture, and I love how that influences the things that I do. And there are things that you see in your life on a daily basis that affect what you're doing. And I started wearing this yellow watch band a few years ago, and all of a sudden I realized that I was incorporating yellow into other things that I was doing. I was doing this piece of furniture that had a yellow top on it, and it just, when things are in your visual perception, it just kind of affects what you do. So I'm sure I will see other things that down the line I'm like, oh, I'm going to incorporate that into the boots. And I go to all the art fairs all over the world, and design fairs, and I'm inspired. I go for inspiration. I look at things seeing art makes you look at the world in a different way. Definitely. And that's the thing that I'll see something that will make me think of things. It may be just the way something is framed, or it may be the way someone added a specific color to something. But those things, I take note of those things, and somehow, I'm not taking someone else's idea, but I'm inspired by it and applying it to something else.
Right. I was thinking about that earlier when you were talking about Round Top, and you've been going to Round Top for a number of years.
Yeah.
And you were just speaking about having been in Miami at Art Basel.
Right.
And you're like, I wasn't going to buy anything, but then I did. And then I was wondering, how do you actually have a booth at Round Top and not actually shop and walk around? Or
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I may buy more than I sell. I don't know. But Round Top is changing a little bit, and they're amazing antiques. And I, as a side business, I had to turn it into something else rather than just selling antiques. I decided to open an auction house. So I opened Round Top Auction. So now I'm selling other people's things as well, and that's really fun. But I'm really inspired, like in Miami, I go to the Design Miami Fair, and I'm inspired by the furniture and that sort of thing. I spent a lot of time in West Texas in Marfa, and I'm inspired by all the things that Donald Judd did. And I've recently, this year in Round Top, I decided to do a line of furniture that I'm producing, and I'm making a day bed that's a Judd-inspired day bed, but entirely made of plywood. So it's double thick plywood, and the grain is super exposed. The first ones we did were yellow pine. We're also doing fir, but we can do all sorts of really exotic veneers. But it's really important for me that you see the edges of the furniture, and you see the plywood, and you see that it's this stacked wood, and that rough edge really adds a dimensionality to it that I love. We're playing with stains on them, so I want to do some really bright colors. And it's a really simple day bed. It's 36 inches or 42 inches, and it's just, it fits a twin size or a full size mattress or futon or whatever. So it can be a little more loungy, or it can be a little more formal. But it's a really simple and really elegant piece of furniture. So that line is called Pliable, P-L-Y-A-B-L-E. And so that's fun. So creating something like that is just another thing that I've added to this need to create, whether it's sculptures or boots or furniture or whatever. So
well, I think there is, like we talked about earlier, there is that sort of theme that runs through everything that you do. So even though they might be different subjects, from boots to beds to antiques, there is sort of a running theme that goes along with everything that you're doing.
Starting out, I didn't plan how that was going to work, but I've connected those dots, and figured out, okay, this is why I'm going to this now, and this is, it all makes sense, to me.
Well, right. It makes sense to us individually. I know personally, I've had some harsh words delivered in my direction about, you need to pick one thing and just do one thing. And
I hear that all the time.
And I would be bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
So I love having numerous projects going on. I love touching. I love having things that I can physically touch, that I can impact and make a change. But I also enjoy, doing the Scout Guide and getting myself into our community and meeting new people. And so but it's also very tactile as well. So,
yeah.
I think we have that in common, that we just like to have a lot of different projects going on.
Well, I think, at least for me, I mean, it's definitely some form of neurodivergent for sure, but each one, I get excited about one, and that helps me stay excited about the other. So I'll do one for a little while, and then I don't push it aside, but then I work on this, and then I get inspired about that, and I'm like, oh, that inspires this. I go back to that and think, oh, now I can do this. So each one informs the other. And just, it keeps that energy level up. That enthusiasm is what just keeps me going. So I love ideas.
Yeah. Well, that's always my first question when we reconnect, when you are back in town. My first question, what are you working on now?
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate, I love being able to have Cortado Boot in the Scout Guide. I feel like it's a secret that I love letting out, and I'm excited about it being available soon. And, we look forward to continuing to feature you on social media as well, and when the Scout Guide launches again in June, you'll be in that as well. So thank you so much for coming, and really appreciate it, and appreciate your time and your friendship.
Thank you so much, and I'm super excited to give the world its first taste of Cortado in Aspen.
That's awesome.
So it's great to launch here.
Okay, cheers,
Thanks.
Thank you for spending time with us on the Scout Reach podcast. Conversations like this remind us that the businesses shaping Aspen aren't just brands. They're people, stories, and decisions made over years, not seasons. You can find out more about today's guest in the Scout Guide Aspen, where we continue to highlight the people and the places that define our community. Thank you to the Aspen Meadows Resort for hosting us. We offer free local business networking events. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Be sure to sign up for our email newsletters with announcements of upcoming events at thescoutguide.com/Aspen. I'm Shelly Hamill. Until next time, thanks for listening.